I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co, and today I'm reviewing Money from Allplay. Money is an older Reina Knizia title, one that has been reprinted several times. This is the newest version from Allplay, possibly the smallest box, although honestly it's usually in a pretty small box. Money is effectively a bidding game where the goal is to get sets of different currencies, hence the name Money, and to try to manage what you're willing to give up in order to get what you're trying to get in order to score as many points as possible. To that end, let's go ahead and show you what a currency looks like, talk about how it scores, and then show you how you're trying to get your hands on those currencies. I'm going to use one of those set aside over here, because you will have some of them removed depending on the player count. A currency is going to have 3 20s, 3 30s, 3 20s, a 40, 50, and a 60. Those are the denominations that you have in each currency. You're trying to get as many as you can of one of these, because if you have at least 200 total value, then you score your full value. For context, this is a total value of 300, which means if you miss out on that 60 and that 50, you're already out of having 200. So you really need to try to get your hands on at least one of those two, as well as trying to stack up as many of these as possible. So if you end up with 260, you have 260 points. The problem is, if you end up with less than 260, you basically subtract from that total 100 to a minimum of 0 points. You can't get negative points, which means if you only ended up with 130 worth of a currency, you don't have 130 points, you have only 30 points instead. That's all listed on your player aid over here, so you have all that information in front of you. Additionally, you score points for bonuses. There's 4 kinds of bonuses. Well, really kind of 2. There's really one kind of bonus, just split into 4 variances for easy to keep track of things. The basic bonus is to have 3 of the same card. The exact same card. No differences, just 3 of the exact same card. For example, if you end up with the 330s, you could have nothing else. So 90 minus 100 would be negative 10, but you have a minimum of 0, so this is going to be 0 points. But because you have the 330s, you're going to get 100 bonus points. If you end up with the 320s of any currency, that's another 100 bonus points. If you end up with 3 of these gold cards, there are a bunch of gold cards sprinkled into the set. They are not part of a currency set. They're just extra. They score on their own. They're just worth whatever they're worth in your hand. But additionally, if you have 3 of the same gold cards, that's worth another 100 points. And if you have 3 of the same silver cards, let me see if I have any to show you over here. There we go. Here's a silver card. So we have a silvers and golds over here. If you score 3 of those, you get 100 points as well. So again, you get specific values for having currencies, your total value of your silver and gold, and then sets, points, 100 point sets for 3 of any individual kind. That's what you're trying to do. How do you do this? Well, you do this by bidding. You see, you're going to have your hand of cards. Let me get rid of this over here. You have your hand of cards, and in each hand, you also have, these are part of the set-aside currency, you also have a 0 card. This is just to obfuscate the amount of cards you play. Play it sometimes, hold back other times, just so people don't know when you put 3 cards on the table, did you really put 3 cards on the table, or is it only 2? And you can mess around with people. You can have a single 0, and that's it as your only card played. But players are going to place down whatever their desired bid is in order to achieve one of these 2 sides. Once all players have done that, let's go ahead and reveal what each player's played. We have 0, 20, we have 0, 20, and 20. From order from the highest bid to the lowest bid, the zeros go back to the player's hand, but highest bid to lowest bid gets first rights of what stack they want. So for example, right now, looking at this, I might take, this side has a 50, it's a good strong start. I'll take this side over here, taking these cards, putting them into my hand, and then replacing them with these cards, meaning these cards are now available for other players to take. And specifically, you have 3 options. You're going to be bidding in order from whoever has the highest bid to the lowest bid, but the person who's bidding has 3 options. Option 1, take their cards back into their hand. That's an option. You could just take them back. You don't have to risk them. You don't have to lose them. Although usually you're going to be getting more than you're bidding, usually, endgame can change that up, so you could just take your cards back into your hand. Option 2, you take one of the 2 sides of money, taking those cards, replacing them with yours. Option 3, that I rarely see happen, but sometimes it just works out. Option 3 is you exchange your bid for somebody else's bid on the table. I might really like the cards you gave up, and I never want them to go to the pool, so I'll give up my cards to take your cards, and those things can matter, especially when you're trying to get over 200 at the end. Once all players have done that, this player will swap with this, the last player might go ahead and swap theirs with these over here. Once you do all of that, you're then going to go ahead and refill the display so you have 4 cards on each side. You're going to repeat this until you completely go through the deck, at which point you'll score up. And that's basically how you play Money. Which means it's time for my review of my general thoughts on this game, and it works. It works as a hand optimization, risk management, trying to put a value on things. That's what you're trying to do ultimately. You're looking at your hand, you're like, I'm really going for those green cards, but I could afford to give up this one over here. It's only one card, but this one card, because it's a 50, might get me access to this entire row over here, this entire side, and that can really help me with my blues over here, which I'm trying to bulk up in order to go ahead and get access to that. So you're trying to play this management of what's worth what, knowing though that one man's trash is another man's treasure, and that has never been more true in this game. That 50 might be a color you're not going for anyway, but as soon as you put it down on the table, somebody else is going to use that to cross from 180 to 230, bumping their score by a whole chunk. Now they've crossed that threshold and can score the full amount, not just the 50 you gave them, but the full amount. And so you're constantly trying to manage that, getting an eye on who's doing well on the table, what that person might want, how much it's worth giving up a card, maybe hold it till the end of the game so you can give it up at the very end for that last hand. There's a lot of general management as you try to think through what you have a reasonable chance of getting, who you're competing with on those currencies, and which sets you can get, as well as which full currency. Overall, it's just a pretty good bidding game. I can understand the appeal as to why this has been in print for so long, or constantly been reprinted, because it's simple, it's elegant, it's easy to teach, it's easy to play, it just does a good job. Also for me, I find that it does suffer from, I don't have an official title for this, but I'm going to call it the Knizia effect. Reina Knizia has made a ton of games, and it does mean that I've played a lot of his games that I very often even enjoy them, and I'm like, well, that feels like everything else he's made, because he's made like 1,000+ games at this point. I swear I have never played Money until I played this iteration of it, but I have played a version of this that is basically the same game, possibly a little different, I don't know. But I've never played Money. But like, I've played basically the same game some other time in some other capacity, which is a slight problem. Meaning my biggest issue is this doesn't necessarily stand out. He has so many games that are about managing that risk, that mitigation. Games like High Society, games like Money, games like Modern Art. He's done so many of these games that the question is, okay, great, which one stands out for you? For me, Money is fun. Final thoughts wise, I'll just go into this. I'm going to give Money a 3 out of 5. I do think it might deserve a 3.5. It's hard to say. The biggest thing that holds it back for me is going to be there's basically no variability to the experience. It's exactly the same puzzle you're playing every single time. It is charming. It is fun. I have enjoyed myself while playing this. I also don't think I'll miss it. Not because it isn't good. It is good, but it's accessible. It's easy to play. It just doesn't necessarily shine for me, given how many other games there are out there, including some of his games. You want an incredible auction game? Let's go to recommendations. You want an incredible auction game? Check out Ra from Reina Knizia, one of the best auction games I've ever played. And then additionally from there, I mentioned it already, but High Society. If I want a small box experience that gives you that tension, but it really feels a bit more like you're playing against the other players, I think High Society for me is a slightly better bidding game, while being that same simple and accessibility that Money has. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you found this review helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.